local app, we have got the Kubernetes cluster working with one master and 2 node, and now it's time to deploy some sort of an application on top of that. So as a part of this repository, right, I mentioned that I do have kept some applications, sample applications like Node.js, Grafana, some sort of a sample application that can be deployed. So I'm going to do is I'm going to deploy Node.js applications to a Kubernetes cluster. So again, as a part of an bootstrapping, I already have the Terraform AWS repository made available on the Jambox. So you don't need to clone it any longer. You just need to go to that directory, which is Kubernetes Lab app, right? So if you can see that I'm exactly there to that repository on my Jambox, and I can go inside a folder called Node.js. Here I can see all this set of files, right, application file. So I'm going to do what I'm going to do is I'm going to deploy a sample Node.js app, and this is what the deployment manifest file for that applications which I want to deploy. Now Kubernetes has sort of an 6 layer of abstractions, right? 6 layer of abstraction means the top layer in Kubernetes abstraction is what we call as a deployment, right, which is gonna manage the replica set for a given deployment, right? The replica set is another the second layer which is underneath of deployment, and that replica set is gonna make sure that your app, the desired state of your app is matched with your expected state, right? So if your app has crashed by any reason, right, the replica set is gonna spin up that app into another node, right? So this is the second layer underneath of your deployment, right? Then underneath of replica set, there is something called as a pod, which is a minimum unit of application measurement in Kubernetes. And what the pod represented? The pod represent the group of your nodes, right? The pod consists of the applications. It could be a single applications, or it could be a more than one applications, right? So the pod is something which contains your applications, right? That is running on top of your node. So pod is something. Pod is having replica set on above. Replica set is having deployment on above, right? And then after pod there is something called as an node services and control manager, right? So again, as I said, Kubernetes has a steep learning curve, and definitely there requires in-depth sessions in order to touch base on each of this Kubernetes component. But just to set up a context, just to set up a term level understanding, I have walk you through this different construct of Kubernetes. So in this particular case, I'm only deploying an applications with an kind deployment, which is a high level Kubernetes object, and I'm deploying a Node.js applications. And if you can see over here, right, I do have a Node.js sample applications whose Docker image I have kept on my own Docker repository, which is given over here. So when I start deploying these applications, Kubernetes is gonna download the Docker images from this path, right? Install the Docker image on the container, right? Which is gonna create on the node, right? And then try to spin up the applications and make it running on the port 3000. This is what the container port that I have mentioned in my file. Let me open that again. Okay, so what I'm going to do is now kubectl apply -f, and I'm going to mention that file, which is deployment.yaml, right? So with this command, I'm going to supply the file, which is deployment.yaml, which contain all sort of configurations for Kubernetes object deployment, and it's going to spin up a Kubernetes pod by using the configurations mentioned inside that YAML file. So I'm just going to hit enter. So I got a message saying that deployment apps Node.js sample created. So let's see how it is doing. So for that, I need to run the command kubectl describe pod. So if you can see that successfully Node.js, default Node.js, pulling the images, right? It will take some time to pull the images from the Docker repository. I'm just running the command again and again to check the recent status. It's still pulling the images. I can do that with -f. Sorry, it's completed before that, right? So it says pulling the Docker images, which has been done. Successfully pulled images, right? Created a container and started the container, right? So if I would do again kubectl get pod, I can see my pod is running over there. See, it's like Node.js sample pod is running state. This is what we have created over here, right? And if you want to see on which node it has been deployed, you can see that it's there on the node IP 192.168.11.56, right? So this is what our kube node 1. So it's been deployed on the Kubernetes node 1, right? So if I would do again kubectl get node, this 56 is nothing but my node 1, right? So this particular pod has been deployed on the one of the node of my Kubernetes cluster. Now how I can access this application? For example, this is what now if you remember, right, we talked about two CIDR ranges, two IP ranges. One is the IP range what our Kubernetes cluster is having. This IP range which we have specified as a part of bootstrapping our Kubernetes clusters, and while executing kubemaster.sh we specify another CIDR range, right, which is in the range of 10 dot something, and I mentioned that this is a CIDR range which is internal to Kubernetes, which is being used by your pod. So this is the pod that we have created, right, which is running our application, and this is an IP address which is assigned to that pod, right? And how we can access this application now, right? Now I have created this sort of an application with a service type called the cluster IP. Again, there are three service type in Kubernetes: cluster IP, node port, and load balancer. Cluster IP is a type of service which can be accessed only internally, right? Internally within the cluster. So if I want to access this, I should be trying to access it from anywhere of these three nodes. Either from master I can access it, either from node I can access it, but I cannot access it from my jump box because I have created an application of type cluster IP. So if I want to access the application, I need to go to any of this application. So where I'm going is I'm trying to connect to my master, just in order to check how my application is accessible. So I'm there at the master now, and what I'm doing is I'm doing a curl command. Curl is the utility to access an application. http:// putting an IP address of my applications and the port where it was running. The port was 300, which was mentioned in the file. So if you can see that I'm getting hello world in return, right? So if I rerun it, see I'm getting whatever the application that is having. Let me show you that deployment file, right? So this is the deployment file what we have deployed, and this is the port where we have deployed an applications, right, as a part of the pod. And what is the image is containing? As I said, it was containing a Node.js application. So this is what the index.js file of that Node.js application, and this is what we are getting as a sort of response. Response.end hello.world. So if I try to make a hit, I can get hello world Ubuntu, and this is what we have rightly mentioned as a part of a response of our application, right? So as this is just a sample applications, we are getting what is hard coded. But if you want to deploy any sort of an web applications, right, which is stateless, you can deploy that on Kubernetes and make your service running on the way we want. The last but not the least, this is the cluster IP, which is internal to the Kubernetes, and that is the reason I can only access it from the cluster. I cannot access it from my jump box. If I want to show you, now I'm back to my jump box, and if I hit a command, I cannot access it because it's of cluster IP. If I want to access my application outside of my cluster, I should either create an application with a node port or with a load balancer type, which is the reference to that is also available in my repository, You just need to go and execute the steps. But with the interest of time, I think I should not. I'm not going to do it now, but I'm going to leave it up to you to try that out, and let me know if you face any challenges with doing that. Now, this is something what we have done with the Kubernetes, right? Now, our infrastructure is still running, right, on AWS, and right, if you keep your infrastructure running, you're gonna pay to AWS with a good amount of money, right? With the set of resources that we have created, which is 24 resources as a part of this demonstration, if you keep it running, right, for a period of a month, you will be end up paying close to $100 to AWS as a billing amount, $100 to $150, right? And again, that is not something which is on a cost-effective way. So you create a cluster, you do your sort of study, you do your demonstration, you do your innovations, you try your feature expansion, and now it's time to destroy your infrastructure, right? So what you can do that. This is what the last step in the README talks about. So you should run Terraform destroy to clean up the AWS component. So that's what I'm going to do now. So I just enter Terraform destroy. It asks me to enter an IP, so which we are already having. Again, the same thing what we have done at the time of executing Terraform plan and Terraform apply. So now what it's going to do is it's going to ramp down all the infrastructure component that has been created initially as a execution of Terraform. Now at the point it's going to destroy all the 24 resources, right? If you can see in the output, it asks you to enter the confirmation, which I did yes, and hit an enter. Now it's going to clean up everything. And with this, right, so whatever you have with your AWS, with your Terraform, for your Kubernetes, everything can be spin up with the as of a enter hit, and can be destroyed as and when want. So if you mess up with your Kubernetes infrastructure or say AWS infrastructure and you are not sure how to figure it out, don't worry, destroy it and recreate it from scratch and start using it, because for a newbies, right, definitely they requires plenty of time to troubleshoot or to investigate any sort of an issue which got there unexpectedly, right? So rather than spending a time to investigate that, if it is taking along, it is worth that you should destroy it and recreate it from the immutable infrastructure, and what we can call as infrastructure as an issue with this. So we can create the infrastructure and the Kubernetes cluster as and when we want, and destroy it once we are done with our job, because the efforts in order to spin it again is really bare minimum. So this is all about